Interesting. But you've
So
done how many Kickstarters?
20 as of now. The current one is 20. Knock on wood, they were all each successful. So none of them ever failed or had a misfire. Thank God.
And that's
So
impressive. What's your secret?
just do whatever you can to complete it. I mean, just don't ever give up. I mean, I've fallen behind years ago. I would fall behind sometimes, but it was only by maybe 3 to 6 months tops. But we would always end up delivering the product. That's the problem is I think people get into it and maybe they just don't realize how complicated it is to do something. I mean, I might make it look easy or something because I've done like 20 of them now. If it looks easy or something, it's only because somehow I'm just so used to doing it. Now I have a whole process, but when in the beginning it was, oh my God, I got to get this book done. I didn't never think it would go beyond one book, back in the time when I did the first Kickstarter. But it was only because people kept saying, hey, make another one. And I was like, after Coffins, I was like, make another one. But how the hell am I going to do that? I already do the kitchen sink in the coffin. What more is there? Literally, I was like, what else is there? So then I started with Star Spawn, and at that point, then Undercity. Then I started realizing, okay, well, let me take a spin off of maybe an old title and put a new spin on it to make a new story, and maybe take an original idea like Thing or like Princess or Dwarven King. Then I started realizing, okay, well, what wasn't done back in the day? So in other words, in the Yellow Stripe module time, I don't remember there being any specific Dwarven adventure. So that's why I said let's make a Dwarven adventure. I said, you can do the lead writing on it. I'll be the co-writer. I said, but they'll have a Minecart shaft thing, and we'll call it like the world's greatest Dwarven adventure or something. Instead, we settled on, I said, well, it's better we call it Vault of the Dwarven King. This way we get Vault of the Drow, Vault of the Dwarven King. It sounds like an old module. It sounds familiar to people. But yet my point was make something that they didn't make back then. They never had a Dwarven adventure that I was aware of that was a Yellow Stripe. Same thing, like I don't remember anyone would ever have a dragon involved, the Yellow Stripe specifically. That's why I made Dragon's Princess. I took Palace of the Silver Princess kind of concept and then added the dragon thing in it because there was no Yellow Stripe that had some dragon main boss villain ever that I remember for Yellow Stripe modules.
Same here.
Dragonland, you know what I mean? I'm talking Yellow Stripe. So that was the other thing was, okay, well, I'll take some new ideas that they didn't do back then and we'll make stories off of that. And now it's, as I said, it doesn't stop. I got so many on the list. Like I said, even the current one, the Arrow Lotus one, I said to him, I go, well, one option is just make whatever you were inspired to make, and I'll just write a module around it. And he's like, okay, because I just got this idea when you said that. That's the thing, and there'll be this creature and this thing and these people and this thing. And I said, go, let's just do it.
Yeah,
and he's
Arrow
like,
Lotus.
okay. Yeah, and then he did the picture, the painting, and he showed me like a very rough sketch. The rough was so rough it was hard to even interpret what it was, other than kind of object in places. You know what I mean? And I said, okay, great, go do it. And then, he did it. It took about a month or so, which is fine. There's no rush. And I said, I'll write the module around it. And he came up with that picture. That's really amazing. I said, okay. So it took a couple of days. I thought about it, kept knocking ideas around, and finally came up with the idea that would revolve around that kind of character, that creature thing. And it was kind of a whimsical, fun creature. So I thought, okay, maybe this creature will be like the outcast of this world. His world is now being invaded by these bad things. And because he's been sort of the outcast on the sidelines, he was able to escape the control. And now when he runs into player characters, he can explain the situation and they can now help him go on his hero's journey in a way suddenly that he's the unlikely hero now that has to save his people or his
So
land.
what's the name of that module?
It's called Fantastic Quest of the Whimsical One. And then in tandem with that, I'm doing another one called Lost Tomb of the Mummy Lich. There's another module that's a Tomb of Horrors type thing, only with an Egyptian mummy thing. Two together, it's because that kind of helps guarantee that we'll get the dollars up there to be in like in the 15 to 20 range for the Kickstarter, which is ultimately, in order to do, like I said, we have to talk the reality of business and money, you know what I mean?
Right.
They have to make a certain amount at some point, otherwise I can't run it properly. But the point is that that's why I did kind of two of them together. If I had my way, I'd just do one singular Kickstarter module. But by putting two together, you help guarantee that the numbers are going to get up, at least in this economy.
So it seems like your brand consists of get a familiar and catchy title and pack it full of entertaining things to do and deliver in a timely manner. Is that about right?
Correct. Yes.
What's not to like?
Exactly. You try to make interesting characters that are either the heroes or the villains in the story. And even when they're the villains, give them kind of an interesting backstory and stuff to do with all that. I kind of think of like all of us modern writers, creators in the industry for this stuff, we have the benefit of this magical thing called hindsight. So we can look back on the old modules or old movies or whatever we're trying to create, and we can see now, okay, well, the mistakes that they made. Here's the things that were great about it, but here's the things that they made mistakes. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to make a new product and make new mistakes, like people like to point out in mine, with grammar issues or stat issues, or
I
things
think
like
you should be
that.
pointing this way because I think I've said those things. Yeah, go.
Not just you. Everybody has
Right.
pointed out, and it's true. But that's what makes them unique, or so. That's what makes them special. Or something. That's what shows that it was my genius, or something.
Clearly, Mark Taormino product. Oh, and how did I leave out four? Compelling art. Always
Oh yes,
compelling
yes.
art somewhere in there.
Yes, I always try to have the best artists that I can do this stuff. Because remember, before it would take us a year just to do one book, but that was mainly because I was taking care of my mom and I couldn't quite focus on it. But God forbid, now she had passed away last year, gave me free time now to focus on the business of home. So in doing so, now I can literally come up. Borderlands was done. Village of the Borderlands, a 64-page module with all that artwork and map. I did that in like a span of 3 months. In fact, in the middle of that campaign, I also suddenly spit out the recipes book because that recipes thing was only supposed to be 2 pages. It was only supposed to be 2 recipes for the PDF. But I thought, hey, this is pretty neat. Maybe I can make a whole book out of it. And that's when I said, okay. And then I was dating this lady at the time named Marcia. And I said, hey, you can help. She said, I'll help. I'll do the recipes. So she helped do the recipes. And I put her in the story as she's the wine lady in the Borderlands book. She's the wine lady with dogs. So I could do them now fairly quickly. You know what I mean? Especially if they're more truncated down to 32 pages, like Jester was 36. A normal one now, Legend of the Demons was 24. So I'm going to try to keep them in that range now between 24 to 36 pages. Because beyond 36, other than Borderlands, it just gets to be too big. I don't think people have that much of attention span to play for 2 or 3 weekends, 4 weekends, you know what I mean? And that big of a module anymore.
Yeah, you make
Right?
a great point because so what if you've got a 1,000-page module epic
Right.
mega campaign? How far are you going to get through it? In
Right.
the groups I've been in, you don't have the best luck with that. I imagine a lot of people have a similar experience. And yeah, but you can make smaller adventures, make them interesting, and then just string them together. Bam, you got your campaign.
Exactly. And it's much faster for me to be able to do them a little bit smaller. It's more cost effective also. A lot of these things are also financially based. I'm trying to make it work financially. You know what I mean? So I have to worry about costs, but hopefully I can keep plate spinning and keep doing this because yeah, I'm happy to do it. I enjoy making them for everybody, even though I don't get to play them really. I mean, make them and give them to tester at the test. Even I don't get to play them; the other people get to play them. You know what I mean? Because I'm really writing them the way I would play the module, the way I write it, which is why maybe it sounds strange sometimes. Like from a first person standpoint, that might not make sense in a box tech. Point is that I'm happy to write them to make it so other people can enjoy playing.